Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. After an historic win for Israel 72 hours ago, we've had a very painful time for Israel the last 72, or let's call it even more, 48 hours, including last night, with sadly fatalities as well as injuries, and a disturbed night for Israel. But we are strong, we are resilient, we keep pushing, and we know how to rise up, and we will do the same again. And I've no doubt we will do the same again. And that's why we're showing up here today, as usual. Initially, when this all happened, I was thinking, okay, do we cancel? What should we do? And I said, no, the show must go on. Israel is strong, we are strong, and we're going to show up here as usual. So welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. I'm Lesley Kaplan. Of course, wishing all those injured and thinking all of those families that have been directly affected. And of course, very proud of our Air Force and our Army and our people and everything that we've been doing. So what do we do on the Monday Motivation Spotlight? Many of you are familiarities and regulars and are familiar with this. What we do is we show up, we have an amazing speaker and an inspiring speaker every single time. And for those of you that are new, this session has been going since the war. We started this podcast with the start on the onset of the war to motivate and inspire us, and yes, to give exposure to amazing individuals, business owners, individuals, as well as Amutos who are making a difference. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Before I introduce our guest, I'm going to spotlight in literally a couple of seconds. I want to also just say thank you to our sponsors, to Nardis Advisors, as well as to Eggert & Cohen Insurance. So I'm going to replace my spotlight with our speaker from today. Good morning, Yacova Leifert, who is a childhood educator and who I actually know personally. I'm not going to go into details how we met, but we met, I think she mentioned, about 9 years ago, and then we've had contact since. And it's a small world how everything comes together. So Yacova is a childhood educator with over 20 years of experience, and she is the founder and CEO, you see in the background, the Joy-Based Learning, Enrichment, and Parenting Program. And her passion, she trains and teaches parents and kids and to raise confident, resilient, and happy children so that we can make our children more, calm and collective. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, as well as her story. On the personal side, she's a mother of 5. She's recently remarried with 10 kids between them, and maybe she'll share with us a little bit about that. So what we're going to do is, Yacova was meant to be our guest anyway, even before the extended war, if we call it, that happened 72 hours ago. So what I did request of her is that we're going to change the angle of what our Monday motivation is usually. She's going to share her story with us. She's going to share her Aliyah story with us. But in addition, because she's a parenting coach, what could be more perfect, and Min HaShamayim, that I chose her as my guest this week without us even knowing that we're going to need this, even though, yes, we are in an extended war since October 2022. So Yacova, please share with us tips as well as your story about how we can help make our kids more calm, how we can be more calm and get through the situation.
Sure, absolutely. And Lesley, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to reach as many parents as possible. Zoom is amazing for that. So thank you again for allowing me to be here. Okay, so a little bit about myself. We made Aliyah, and I came here for seminary, and I said, I'm going to Israel and I'm never coming back. This is my home. And back in 2001, my parents made Aliyah right after 9/11. So that would have been 3 months during my seminary year. And I just stayed. We got married, had a few kids. We ended up moving back to America for a bit of time, a few years. It was kind of a detour. So this is Aliyah 2.0, which I would totally say go for it if you are on the fence, because you know what you're getting into. So you're a bit more prepared. Through that process in the past 20 years of being a parent and raising children, I opened up a Montessori Enrichment Center, which does service children here in Israel who would like to start learning English early from age 3. Here in Israel, they only start in Kita Gimel, and I saw a need for that, as well as children with learning disabilities like dyslexia and ADHD that is difficult for them to learn in the classroom. So providing math for them, enrichment in all different areas, and practical life skills, and just, the child as a whole, the emotional impact of having that. And what I found is that when a child walks into my classroom, the parent walks into the classroom as well. So how can I best support the parent at home with the child? You know, they walk into my classroom and I can do my part, but what can I empower the parents with? And that evolved into coaching because parents would come to me, you know, the drop off, the pickup, ask the questions, pick my brain, and often we would solve problems. We would ask questions and solve the problems and get to the bottom of it, what's going on beneath the behavior. And this developed into what I had no idea was my underlining passion is really to empower parents with the tools to be able to raise happy, healthy, and resilient children. Which comes in handy when you get married. And now we have a blending of 10 kids. We have ages ranging from 11 to 21. And so having that recently over the past 6 months been like a blending, experience has been amazing to see. And having the tools as a parenting coach that have that process go as smooth as possible, it's been a blessing. So grateful to be here. That's a little bit about myself. And what I'd like to do is switch gears to what's going on in our lives now, currently in this particular week, but also in like a whole, right? We've been in this war for a long time and it's taxing. And this is just coming off the tails of COVID, which I am hearing from the peanut gallery over there in Facebook land and all the mamas groups that they feel like this is COVID all over again, that they're stuck at home and oh my gosh, it's a snow day, but it's not snow coming down on us. And so there's a lot of sleep deprivation, a lot of PTSD actually, like, oh my gosh, here we go again, I'm stuck home with my kids. And so I'm going to address today what to do in general, like, okay, I don't think that this is going to go away in the long term, and then what to do like this week when you're trapped at home. And I address all those ways that we can possibly go through that. And for the grandparents on here, this is just as valuable for you as it is for a parent because you can help your children, right? I'm sure they're calling you, what do I do? And they're overwhelmed. And if you are armed with some tips that they can do with their children, some advice to how to help them get through it, that empowers you as grandparents. So I'm all about empowering all the generations. Okay, so getting into it. There's two parts to this, right? There's the practical part of like, okay, how can I set us up proactively to win? All about being a proactive parent, right? How can I prepare ahead of time so that going into a stressful moment or a new experience that we're all going to win at this? We want to set our kids up to win. So that would be, practically speaking, setting up your bomb shelter for the age appropriate people that are going in there. And if we have young kids, 6 and under, that means games, arts and craft projects, yummy, delicious snacks that they can associate going into the bomb shelter with as a fun and exciting experience. And you can ask them, you can invite them into the conversation. Hey, what would you like to have in the bomb shelter? What would you like to have while we're in there? Would you like to bring your stuffy, your blanket? If you have a double, if you're anything like me and you knew your kids get attached to certain things, you bought 5 of them. So you can have one already in there so we don't forget it and we're stuck in there without it. I think all of you know the basics as far as the survival and the water and the food and everything, but I'm talking about like the entertainment stuff. And it could be things that they hardly ever touch because it's so rare and special. So that when we're going in there, it's like, oh, it's actually exciting because now we get to. Right? And that's like the practical part of it. Also, practically speaking, if you have children in that age group, and I'm going to discuss all the age groups, right? But I'm talking like 6 and under, like role playing and practicing drills, just like you can remember as a child in school, but make it fun, right? Okay, so everyone has a job. Everyone can be part of this and be important. And so if you have something simple, but it gives them a chance to feel in control where they don't feel in control. So like a flashlight on the shelf and a bag. So like you can tell the kid, your job is to bring the flashlight and your job is to check, do we have the bag? And like each kid gets one thing and they practice and they feel powerful. They feel respected. They feel a part of. This isn't just happening to them, but they're part of the family process of getting ourselves to safety and that teamwork. Okay. So different ways that we can get proactive with that and setting your kids up to win. Is very helpful. Now let's talk about the elementary ages. Elementary to teenage years, it's also asking them, What we want from children is to have them cooperate with us. In order for our children to cooperate, we would need them to contribute. If they're part of the solution, they're more willing to cooperate, right? There's almost this desensitization around our teenagers. If you've noticed, kids are still videotaping the bombs coming down. And we need to address that because they're so desensitized. Oh, it's not going to happen. Oh, it's really fine. Oh, our army's taking care of it. They almost have too much trust, right? But we want them to get into safety because we're realizing right now this is a little different than anything we've ever dealt with. And being in your bomb shelter means absolute safety as much as we can possibly do, right? And so acknowledging that and saying, hey, what would you like to have in the shelter? What would you like to do when we go in? Would you like to bring your Tehillim? Would you like to bring a book? What would you like to bring a craft project that they're interested in? Or would you just like to be on your phone the whole time? Like, I will just say, last night we were in our bomb shelter. I had all my teenagers in there and they were all on their phones. No one was talking with anyone. Friday night, we were singing, we were davening, we were, here, we were playing games, we played Monopoly Deal. But last night, everyone was glued to their phones. One was watching a show, one was watching the news, and one was talking to their friends. But guess what? They were cool, calm, collected, and locked in. So that's what worked for them. And so definitely you want to look at the age groups, ask them what they need in order to keep the calm keep them like occupied in the bomb shelter. But I want to address the emotional part of this because you can be prepared all that you want. You can have all the activities, you can have all the comfort items in there, but energy and your emotions are everything. And here's what I tell parents all the time. Children, they watch what you do more than what you say. So if you say, don't worry, the IDF is protecting us or everything's fine, but you're freaking out, and they know it. They know when you're faking. They do. They know when you're like, it's okay. And then you're going over to your teen partner or other adults in the house and they're like, what's going on? They catch that vibe. And this is what makes parenting hard. What makes parenting hard is being able to show up for your kids, even when you're crumbling on the inside. Right. And I tell it to parents when their kids are having a tantrum and they're like at the end of the day, right? They're the finish line, bedtime, and the kids like melt down. No, I'm not brushing my teeth. And like we're like completely dysregulated. What do we do? And being able to say, I need to breathe, calm myself down so I can be there for my kid and be there calm and help them regulate. This is what makes parenting hard. Saying, you know what? Children are going to learn from me. And even if we are scared, we need to take a breath and show up for our kids calmly. And we can make it an adventure. You know your kid. So if your kid will buy into that, let's go in, we're going in and it's an adventure, do the adventure thing. If your kid's in the middle of peeing on the potty, believe it or not, I'm coaching parents through potty training right now, a lot of them. And one parent's response was, what do I do if they're middle of peeing in the potty and the siren goes off? I mean, as if potty training and parenting could be any harder. Really? We have to deal with this right now. And the reality is that I said to them, well, is it the 30-minute siren? Is it the 10-minute warning? Right? That's going to change. But also our energy, like, it's more of annoying. Like, oh, look, we had the siren. Okay, let's finish up. And we're going to go in. And they will catch our vibe. It's very similar, something a little bit more relatable. Let's take sirens out of the picture here. Fear of dogs, fear of the water. Fear of the ocean. I'm guilty of that. Like I have a fear of water, near drowning, when I was 3. And I knew that I wanted my children to love the ocean because their dad loves the ocean. And so I let him do the first initial meeting of the ocean for the children, right? Because I knew I didn't want to give that over. Children are not born fearful of dogs. They get that from their caretakers. All it takes is one time for their caretaker to freak out or worry, and the kid's like, got it. So I see a dog, freak out, worry. Check. So when it comes to the sirens and it's coming down, even though on the inside, and I acknowledge that this is hard because this is scary, even though, because now it's even more of a fear, like buildings are getting hit, right? Even though we're fearful, we want to be our calm for our kids because at the end of it, when they come out, if we were, they're going to be able to shake this and be resilient. God made us that way. Cognitive dissonance is built into the way that we're wired. Being able to recoup and just keep going. That's when they say that we're a stubborn nation. That's what we're talking about. You are not going to knock us down. You're going to blow up our buses. We're going to go on the same bus the next day. You won't even know what happened that day. This is how resilient we are. And we're building that resilience in our children. That also being said, and I'm just going to keep rolling with it because I really want to empower you with your children. We still need to address our kids because yes, we can be prepared. And yes, we can show up calm and go through the motions as peaceful as possible. But our children are human and they're going to need to process this. So we want to give them an opportunity to process this. So what does that look like? Before things happen, guys, we're already in before and after. We're already after, right? We're 2 years into a war, right? So before this sirens, you can have a conversation with your kids. And this works for any age, typically 3 and up, but 5 really, when they start verbalizing it, and you know your kids are trying to process it. Right? I've heard it from the street of my house, kids faking a siren with their mouths. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but children doing role playing and faking that siren because they're trying to process it. They're trying to get some bit of control, which means they need to talk this out. So opening up that conversation with, hey, you know what? I just want to check in, like, how is it for you when you hear that siren? What do you feel? What goes on for you? It's just from a place of curiosity. And just listening, not because we want to solve it, not because we want to make them feel better, right? Not because we want to like distract them or, okay, we'll come in and tell them it's not that bad, but because we want to let them know that we are their person and we hear them and we see them. And so this opens up the conversation of communication. And it's really important because if your kids are 4 or 5 or 6 and we get to open up that communication right now over this big stuff, it gets bigger as they get older. So if we greet them and they open up, that's our job to just listen and be quiet and just listen. And some of the stuff is going to be like, whoa, you had no idea what was even going on there. But now we get to listen. And if we listen without judgment, without make wrong, without fixing, without trying to distract or whatever it is, or belittle or try and minimize it, we just listen, they'll open up the next time. And that's the idea of parenting right. It means having those small conversations that plant the seeds so that the next conversation happens, that the kid says, you know what? I think I can go to my person about this. I feel comfortable because the last time I went to that person, I felt seen and I felt heard and it wasn't scary. I'm going to go next time. We want them to go next time. Come for the small stuff so they go for the big stuff. And then after, of course, there's a siren and we go in and then we go out and okay, you know, home front command says we can leave our shelters. Again, children watch and they learn by what we do. Let them see you cope. Let them see you decompress out loud. Parents ask me, can I cry in front of my kids? Can I, show them that I'm overstimulated? Yes. Yes. Show them that you're human so that when they're feeling those human emotions too, they can feel okay about it and show them how you process them. Like you can say out loud, wow, that siren got to me that time. I felt it right here. Okay, I'm going to take some deep breaths. And you can do that. And you can show them like, wow, that was loud. Like it scared me. It's not that you feel unsafe. It was just like I was sleeping or I was in the middle of doing the dishes. And then, oh, okay, got to put everything down. And it just like, it jolted my nervous system. And so you can let them watch you breathe. And you can, teach them 4 in, 4 out of the breaths work. A fun thing that, just one more tip before, Lesley and I go back and forth. I want to give you one quick, easy game that you can play with your kids. Should you end up in a bomb shelter with a child having, or an adult having a panic attack? Because that also can happen. You never know which one is going to do it. Things are getting a little bit, more intense. And so here's a quick one. If someone is having a hard time catching their breath, try and get their brains to think, okay? We want to kind of trigger their brain part to think. So ask them, look around the room, ask them to find 3 things around the room. If they're children, ask them about an item, what color is this? And if it's blue, you can joke around and say, I think it's green. And then they'll be like, no, it's not, it's blue, right? And now they're thinking and now they're breathing. And that is the key. So with an adult, it's like, look around the room, tell me 3 things that you see. You're forcing them back into their thinking brain and helping them breathe again, and then go back into the breathing. Eye contact, of course, you're with them. This is something that we've seen and we've known, but that one little question empowers you with the ability to help someone get out of that panic mode. So again, there's the physical part of this of like practical, let's get prepared, age appropriately. And then there's the emotional part of it, setting your kids up to win emotionally, how we should be in the energy of it. And then the building, the idea of like using this as an opportunity to build your relationship with your kids. I'm here for you. I see you. I'm a safe place to talk to. We got this together. You're not alone. So, Lesley?
Right. Yeah, I love the way you express everything, and I'm going to come up, next to you on the side. For those that are watching the recording, I'm not sure if you'll see both of us, but it's so true, and I love the way you say such natural things, and it just seems so easy and so natural, and you seem to be brilliant at it. And for some parents, it's obviously easier than others. Share with us. You did mention a bit about from a parent's point of view, like many of us here have older children. I'm going to share with you now, like once I'm done with this episode and once it's uploaded, I'm actually going to be leaving to stay with my grandchildren for probably 48 hours or who knows for how long, because their parents are stuck abroad. So I'm more concerned not only just during the yes and Azaka, but how am I going to occupy these children, or we can't go too far from the house for the next 48 hours. So share with us for now from, with the grandparents' point of view. And even if we're not in the situation like what I described now, I mean, we're also tired. Those of us that have also got grandkids, but we're also working. So we've also got our work commitments, but we're also trying to help our children. Maybe to share something like that, even if you're not in the house staying with them.
That was just what I was going to ask you. Are you in the house staying with them
I
specifically?
will be in the house staying with them in their house for at least 48 hours, unless there's a miracle and their parents can get back sooner.
Sure. And this is something that's happening all over Israel right now. Jewish homes are, experiencing that classic sentence of rubber walls, right? I have taken in my nephews because their school's over for the year. They got to fly back and they're stuck. People are here traveling. They got stuck in every which direction. And so we do have families moving together that normally the unit is smaller and now it's larger. So there's a few ways to look at that. And there's a few different questions to address, Lesley. Number one, practically speaking, when you have multiple caregivers in the house, roll, like whose job is what? And that's a big thing, whose job is what with grandparents. Like, am I the parent? Am I the grandparent? Like, where's that line that like,
right, parent
am
or
I
grandparent? Because
disciplined?
you'll be the parent at the time, but you're actually the
Right,
grandparent.
right. Like as a grandparent, like, okay, we could spoil them, but what if I'm actually in charge? Now am I the disciplinarian? And it becomes a little bit, blurry, especially when our children have chosen a different parenting style than we know. So everything's like there's this new jargon of like gentle parenting and, validating kids' emotions, no timeouts. There's a lot of like new age stuff. So how do we handle that? So the first part is like practically speaking, if you're going to be buckling up and living with a family and the core family is getting wider, like larger, have a team meeting and discuss roles and jobs. Like who's making dinner? Are we going to divide the chores? Are we going to, this is like the bigger stuff, the structural, right? The practical, right? So the chores and the meal planning and the cleanup, those are like the top three. And then there's like the kid stuff, like who's getting the kids dressed up, who's getting the kids, who's doing bath time and who's doing the feeding for the kids, depending on the ages, right? And the nap time, depending on the ages, what's expected, because knowing what's expected, you know what to expect. It like works for everyone. It works for the parent, it works for the grandparent, and it works for the children. The children need to know. Because if they know that, okay, the grandparent is in charge of like just the fun time, but now it's going bedtime with mom, then we do tag team. But we have to set it up ahead of time so everyone knows, and also the schedule. But I also wanted to address, I think I forgot to address it today, that this week, which has COVID vibes, right? Is like the house is gonna be messier. The dishes are gonna stay in the sink longer. There's gonna be dishes always. The food's gonna go out faster if you have teenagers. And so we're gonna lose a lot of structure. Within that, we want to be able to provide ourselves with a lot of grace. We're exhausted. Our house is a mess. Kids are home all day. It's like shoveling during a snowstorm. And guess what? That's okay, because this is not forever. That's like your mantra right now. This is not forever. Feels like it is. Feels like it is for sure, but it's not forever. So just remember to offer each other grace. And then you want to know what your role is. Now, that being said, once you do discover what your role is, let's say grandparents' role has been put into more of watching over the kid, like 100%. And so if that is the case, you want to make sure you know where all of their things needed, so that if the mom is like on Zoom or working where she can't be asked questions and details, that you are empowered with everything your kid likes to eat. You know the allergies, right? And you know what their favorite this is and their favorite that is. And you have 2 activities already ready to go that you know that they would like to do. So you're empowered so that boredom doesn't turn into misbehavior. Okay. And if, and this is for the grandparents, I invite you to get curious about your child, that's the mother, that's the parent. I invite you to get curious about your child's new parenting techniques, because some parents are doing it differently than we did it, you know, and everyone's trying and experimenting and not sure. If that is the case for you, and this is new for you, I invite you to get curious, and you can ask your children, hey, I noticed that you do things differently. When this happens, what would you like me to do? This is like the most graceful questions you can provide for your children. I noticed that you do things differently than I did. So when this happens, what would you like me to do? Part of what causes us as parents and educators to have anxiety when children are throwing a tantrum or saying no, is what do I do? But what do I do? Like, one is like, just do it. And the other is like, but what do I do? I don't know what to do in the situation. So it's causing more anxiety. So what we can do is get proactive. Just ask the parents ahead of
Just ask the
time.
question, right? And one final question, because we do need to wrap up. We could have gone on much longer than 30 minutes in today's session. If you're a grandparent from far, and it's a question that was asked in the chat, and you have children that are needing your assistance, but you live too far or you're not able to get over there and assist, how do we handle that from that point of view? You know, staying in good contact with our kids and then not feeling resentment because we can't get there. So what can we do from far?
Well, it depends. It's a great question. It really depends on the ages. Like the young kids, you know, it could be, and it depends on your financial means. It could be sending them an Amazon gift basket of fun activities that'll be fresh and new ideas that they can do with their children, right? And where did they get them from? Bubby and Zadie. And so now you're building that bond, and it's something new, and it's entertaining them in the bomb shelter. That's one idea. If they're a little bit older, and they're able to sit for Zoom, you can set them up if they like that chat. Some kids that only last for 5 or 10 minutes. It's really personal for that child. It's not exactly a babysitter. Actually, parents, be mindful of when you Zoom in with your children, your grandchildren, if it's interrupting that evening bedtime, bath time zone, because that can cause a stress level in the parent. Another thing is WhatsApp. The older kids, if like you've got 7, I don't know if they have phones, but you know, depending if they have phones and access to WhatsApp, you can, you know, send them funny memes and funny whatevers to keep them entertained. You know, children don't necessarily like to pick up the phone and have a 20-minute conversation these days, but they do get those jokes. So if you can create your own inside jokes with your kids, that's a fun way. That's for the older kids. Definitely want to tap in. If you can have a phone call with them over the phone, tell me something fun that you did today. Tell me something silly that you have. What's your latest joke? Maybe you guys can get a joke book, and you can do
Actually, I
knock
want to
jokes.
add to that what you just said. It reminded me, and I actually came across a recording not so long ago during COVID times when we couldn't see our grandchildren. I actually I made a whole big thing. I invited all of them to come to a 1 hour Zoom session, fun session with Safta, and they all came on. So that was something that was really cool. And I entertained them for 1 hour. So it was really, really fun. They got to see each other, the different families. So that's something that we can also do now if everybody's at home.
Yeah, and it's very individual. Like I said, based on the ages and the personalities of the kids that you have. If I didn't
Right.
answer your question as far as that goes, like my grandchildren, your specific situation, I invite anyone to reach out to me. I have a website, www.joybasedcoaching.com. And you can book a free call with me. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. If you felt like something here was like, yes, but my situation, those are the reasons why you want to
Right, that you want to one-on-one. And I think you do groups as well. Is that correct? Either individual or you do groups too?
I do workshops for free on topics that will cover everyone, but when it's specific, because
Yeah, then one-on-one coaching is obviously the way to go.
it's so unique. It's
Amazing.
so Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Yacova, just in 30 seconds, your passing message, anything you wanted to share, a final message with us?
You're not alone. The biggest thing here is to make sure that you have someone to reach out to. If you feel like you're alone, find a person, find an adult over 5 feet, right? That you can call and share. You're not alone. If you don't have that person, you can feel free to reach out, making sure that you have someone for you to decompress to and process to.
Right, which is super important.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Yacova, for being our spotlight for today. You've been listening to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Today was a little bit different to usual, but we're in different circumstances to usual. However, as I said in the beginning, for anyone who joined later, we are strong, we are resilient. Yes, we've had pain over the last 48 hours, but we've also had many, many wins. So just stay strong. We're a strong nation. I'm Yisrael Chai. I invite you to re-listen to the recording. It's going to be on YouTube if you want to listen to a couple of points again, what Yacova said. If you are listening to the recording, thank you for joining. And remember, you're not alone. There are people out there that can help you. We are a strong nation. Thinking of, as I said earlier, our casualties and kol hakavod, and taking our hats off to our Air Force, our soldiers. Remember, it's not just about Iran. We also have on the other fronts that we're still dealing with. I still have a son in Gaza. Many of us have sons still in the army. So just stay strong. We've been through this before. We will not only survive, but thrive. Thank you again to our sponsors, Nardis Advisors, and to Eden Code Insurance. Next week, we will see you on the Motivation Spotlight. We are having a double event, and B'ezrat Hashem, we will still be able to have our double event. So stay tuned. That we run through from 9:30 to 9:30, from 9 to 11. So with 2 different issues, but stay tuned. You're on my mailing list. Stay strong. I'm Yisrael Chai, and we will see you, please God, in a good way in next week on Monday. Thank you again, Yacova. Have a great, safe day.